Good afternoon. How are you? Well, Thomas Jefferson's delivered today. It's 60 degrees. The humidity's 42%. The wind is at about 11 miles an hour, although I don't feel it. I feel a slight wind. People enjoy attacking Joe Biden. I don't know why. Some people want to hit a guy when he's down. And I thought he was treated pretty shabbily for a man who gave his life to public service. But that aside, I'd like to hearken back to why he got in the race in 2020. And he said it was because the soul of America was at risk. And it was at risk because of what he observed in Charlottesville. The anti-Semitic demonstrations, the fire torches being carried. And that was what pulled him into the fight. And some wondered if he would do it or not. But it was quite believable that that's what motivated him. And I think Biden wrongly thought that at the ballot box we could always handle Trump. And that was a major error on his part. And he couldn't anticipate at his age, I think, that he would come a cropper and not have the final oomph to carry him through an election to another victory. Others didn't make that easy. Now I mention that because some might think that Trump is tolerant of Jews, that he's not anti-Semitic. I don't believe it for a minute. I believe any man who can exalt Hitler and other strong men through history and currently on the world stage is not a man who favors tolerance. In fact, he seems to favor discrimination. His elimination of DEI is all about saying, if you're white and male, you're okay. Anything else, any peculiar things, forget it. Now, I mention this because this afternoon, somebody set a fire at the Pennsylvania governor's mansion. Now, I said set a fire because that's the official public announcement. Josh Shapiro is the governor of Pennsylvania. He was considered a stronger choice to be vice president in the recent election. And I'm not going to quarrel that that was true or not. It's very hard to tell in this political business. But what I say is he was exalted among equals, maybe, with different advantages and difficulties. But he was considered then, and is considered now, as a potential candidate for president in 2028. So, when you try to burn down a man's home, where his family lives in a residence, not near where the fire was set, what kind of a message are you sending? I know from my days in New York as a federal prosecutor and what I've seen since, that this is what the mob does. Intimidate you, coerce you, cause fear and trepidation. Maybe not for yourself, but what's going to happen to my family? Are they going to do something to my family? Now, do they have a suspect? I don't know. Do they know if it was one person or several persons? I don't know. Was it anti-Semitic? Perhaps. Was it calculated to do the things a mob might do to discourage somebody from running for office? Yeah, possibly. So, does this suggest culpability by Trump? No, we don't have a connection with him. But a person or persons who did this might think we have to open the way for a third term, and we have to win that race once we manage to have that race after we've done everything we can to the voting rolls and everything else, we don't want strong opponents. Somebody who could replace Trump if he pulls off a third term. Now, this signals in the desperation of this administration, given its failures in court and on the Hill and demonstrations across the country. They see only obvious pathways to win. And cheating is one of them. Lying is another one of them. Blistering the living daylights out of anybody who would oppose or disagree with them. Firing them at every turn. So we have that. Now let's focus on a couple of things. Let's talk about the economy. I'm not going to dive down the way we have the last couple of days. But I want to point out a couple of things that strike me as I'm walking. And one is that there's a poll out, and 59% say our economy is in bad shape. You have to think, if Trump spent more time finding the best color foundation for his makeup, the whole nation would be better off, because he wouldn't be destroying us. He wouldn't be taking apart the country that he's supposed to lead, to preserve and protect our republic, to acknowledge and respond to a democracy of people who are represented by Trump, no less, and others. And so I think that's why we see, in response, a resistance among we the people. The contract which was made with we the people in the Constitution. Not with oligarchs, not with dictators. In fact, everything speaks against that, because of our experience as a colony at our birth. We'd had enough of that, and we didn't want it. We didn't want taxation without representation. We don't want tariffs without any ability to control, resist, change, alter, and decide whether to have tariffs, particularly ones destroying the world economy. So we see demonstrations growing and swelling with force, and that's what we need. Now, one of the conversations that you may have had or heard is, what about the young? And Bernie Sanders and AOC are going around the nation and gathering large crowds to resist. But the question is, where are the young? And Bernie Sanders unleashed a number of issues that he cares about at the Coachella Valley Music and Arts Festival. And he was speaking to the youth at this festival. It was this Saturday evening. And he called upon the younger generation to stand up against the fossil fuel-us industry, who are destroying, in every direction you look, our safe living and despoiling the alternative energy sources that don't have the risks that fossil fuels do. When Sanders mentioned Trump before the crowd booed loudly. And it's part of Sanders and AOC's tour, the Fighting Oligarch tour, that they're advancing. Because it seems to me, even in the changes in the last several days, that when AOL can come in and say, whoa, stop what you're doing with these computers and so forth. You want to kill us? We didn't elect you to have you screw our business. And they're not the only ones, Microsoft and others. So the Trump administration, no surprise, is about greed and discrimination. It is a genuinely anti-Semitic coalition. It is also a coalition of the unlawful, of the craven, of the hateful, those who lack any sense of caring, any humanity for others. So we have a force in this country in which greed is unleashed in the marketplace. And we can honestly believe that what's happening in the marketplace is to favor some players, those billionaires who were standing with Trump when he was inaugurated, like no symbol could ever be, the actual fact of them being present. And so it's greed in the marketplace, but it's also discrimination everywhere. In the not so holy week, the State Department wants employees to report anti-Christian bias. So what if you're an agnostic? Is that anti-Christian? Or you're an atheist, don't believe there's a God. Or you're Jewish or Buddhist. What about the issues? Pro-choice. What about those things? Same-sex marriage. Well, you get the idea. So the discrimination is a big part. We want white males. And ultimately, it'll narrow down to Trump issuing fiats, no more executive orders. Probably not even having to run for office. He'll just be declared President à vie, President for life. Now, the punishment for what Trump does should be what Monty Python illustrated many years ago. The comfy pillow. We should press up against him the comfy pillow. Because no one expects a Spanish Inquisition. And we didn't, but we have one. If you disagree by a single character, a jot or tittle, then you can expect to be on the wrong side of Trump. And why has he gotten to you yet? Because he is aggrandizing the power for those that we're not defending, we're not protecting, we're not supporting. So that when he's dealt with them, he can turn on us with the same dirty tricks and do to us what they're doing with the people that are now being thrown out of our country, picked up on the street, while we have less and less freedom with an end game by Trump that the freedom we get is what he grants and nothing more, and maybe less. Trump challenges the African American Museum, part of a widespread effort, he says, to write our nation's history. He calls it ideological discrimination. That's what that museum is about. Did we have slaves? Yeah. Did we sell human flesh? Yeah. Did we have a war about it? Yes. Was it declared illegal around the world? Did we make tremendous advances? Did we give the vote to African Americans, to persons of color? On April the 19th, we're going to have another set of demonstrations, as I understand it, in every state in the Union. Not everybody can get to it, but do what you can. Call a friend who can. Send a couple of bucks if you can. Write your congressman. Write your senator. Tell them to get off their ass and do something to protect this great nation, to protect it as a republic, to protect it so we have freedom, so we have a First Amendment right to push back, because that's what's at risk. So, that's what I got for today, and I'm out in my almost totally green cathedral of trees. Look forward to talking to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.